Well, that is all from BBC News at 6, so it's goodbye from me. And on BBC One, we now join the BBC's news teams where you are. Bye-bye.
Welcome to a special BBC London programme. Tonight we're live in Farringdon on a huge day for the capital. It's Europe's largest ever construction project and one of London's most controversial. Conceived in the 80s, cancelled in the 90s and back on in the 2000s. Running from Berkshire in the west to Essex in the east. Cutting deep underground through central London.
This is where the passengers will be, eventually.
It's cost £19 billion. 10,000 workers have created an enormous new tunnel and built 10 gleaming new stations. An inspiring marvel of engineering. £4 billion over budget, nearly 4 years late. But now the Elizabeth line is here. Good evening and welcome. I'm Bhandhukravi. Tonight we're in the brand new Farringdon station for a special programme on an historic day for the capital as the Elizabeth line opens, linking the east and west. The route runs from Reading in the west into central London with a spur off to Heathrow, and the line goes out to Shenfield in Essex and Abbey Wood in the east. So after years of construction and delays, the first passengers boarded the trains today, as our transport correspondent Tom Edwards reports.
Not a rock star, the opening of a railway. A day of mad excitement when transport itself became the main event.
This train will be calling at Tottenham Court Road.
Many Londoners got for the first time to see their brand new railway.
It's been great meeting everybody and seeing everybody here. I'm very historic.
It's very important, isn't it, for the Queen? That's the main thing.
It's going to cut off probably about 40 minutes out of my journey.
When you first saw it, were you impressed?
Oh my God, like completely overwhelmed actually. We pulled into on the station near one of the cross platforms and it just, wow.
It's really nice, really nice. We're excited.
It's absolutely life-changing for us. We moved here 4 years ago for it, so been waiting for it for a long time. But now that it's here, it's going to cut my commute in half at least.
I think it's one of the best stations. It's fantastic, really good.
Paddington was evacuated first thing after passengers stirred up dust and set off a fire alarm, but it didn't last long. Over a decade ago, this is how the project started. Deep in tunnels under the capital. We have followed the project. It was hit with delay after delay and went £4 billion over budget.
At the moment we're just south of Paddington on our way to Hyde Park and then Bond Street.
And this is what it looks like now. It's quite the transformation. Nearly 4 years and £4 billion over budget. What this new line will do is redraw London.
Good to see you, man.
The mayor was on the line early. He says the line is part of the capital's recovery.
One of the things we've got to do is entice people from working from home to working back in their office, entice tourists back, enticing people back to the centre of our cities. What better way to do so than an air-conditioned, spacious walk-through train, cathedral-like stations. You can keep your distance.
But a dose of reality from government. Funding for Transport for London runs out in June.
Transport has changed in London, the commuters have changed in London, and so we're working very hard with the Mayor and with TfL to understand exactly what their requirement is, but also recognising that there will be reforms that need to be taken.
This project isn't finished yet. There are still challenges to come. But today, the opening of a new line that will radically change the capital. Tom Edwards, BBC London.
Well, this station is one of the 41 across the Elizabeth line, and Farringdon station is now set to be one of the busiest in the UK, connecting with Thameslink and the London Underground to provide links with outer London, the home counties, the City, Canary Wharf and 3 of London's 5 airports. Earlier, I managed to take a look around.
Welcome to Farringdon Station. This is one of the new stations on the Elizabeth line that's open today. As you can see, we've got this amazing architecture. This ceiling is a nod to the Barbican Centre, and with this etched glass, which is a nod to Spitalfields, which is right next door.
Now, we've got a bit of a special feature here, a kind of slanted lift. Is that a unique thing to Farringdon?
On the Elizabeth line, we've got two sets of inclined lifts, one set here at Farringdon and also at Liverpool Street as well. And they are very special. You know, they're basically lifts on their sides, but they allow passengers with buggies to be able to get in and get out very easily. This is where we sort of come down into the platform level from the Barbican exit that we were just in. And of course, at the Barbican end, you've got step-free access to the London Underground station. And it's unique that, you know, Farringdon connects two London Underground stations together, so you can walk the entire length of the platform and get from Farringdon to Barbican without going outside.
Let's go and do that.
Use the full length of the platform and use 4 down.
So here we are. This is the Farringdon Integrated Ticket Hall, as we call it. Integrated because we have the Thameslink platforms and, of course, London Underground as well up there on the left. And this has got this amazing diamond ceiling, which is a nod to Hatton Garden, the local diamond district. And of course, we've got the Simon Purton art of the tumbling diamonds. It's called Avalanche, which again is a nod to the local area.
And just over there, the Thameslink platforms.
They are indeed, yeah.
Well, I'm joined now by Andy Byford and, of course, Tom Edwards. We'll come to Andy in just a second. But Tom, we've finally reached this moment. It's quite the transformation, and you've been covering this story pretty much from the start, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been a long, long journey, and there have been so many delays that at one point I thought it was going to be mothballed. It was getting that bad. But today, it's all positive, lots of excitement. It's just really great to see Londoners out and about, taking it in, enjoying the new railway.
And Tom, to your mind, why is it so important to have this project?
Well, I think if you've ever pre-pandemic got a tube train from Essex down into central London, you'll know how bad it is, how horrible and how congested. So it was certainly about that. It's about tackling that congestion, adding some more capacity. But it was also about linking up these employment hubs, places like Canary Wharf, the centre of town, and Paddington and Heathrow. So what it's really about is future-proofing the capital going forward.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom. Andy Byford, welcome to the programme. Commissioner of TfL, so a big day for you, but still plenty of work to be done on the Elizabeth line, isn't there?
Yes, there is. This was always going to be a phased approach to opening the Elizabeth line. We've got the section already operating out west, the section operating out east, and then today, a very historic day for TfL, we've opened this central section. Next on the to-do list is to get the line semi-connected up, so customers coming from Shenfield in the east will be able to go through the tunnel to Paddington without having to change, and from the west will be able to go through the tunnel again through to Abbey Wood without having to change, and get Bond Street open. So that's the next on the cab rank, if you like. That's going to be in the autumn, and then finally connect the whole thing up no later than May of 23.
Can you tell us when in autumn?
We're working on that. Let me just say, I promised it would be open. This phase would be open end of first half of 2022. So I'm going to say to you, it will open in autumn of this year.
We'll take your word for it. What can customers expect, though, with these ongoing works and potentially some delays?
Well, I mean, we will be needing to use Sundays to get the job finished, because what we inherited from the outgoing Crossrail board was a plan that wouldn't have seen that connection until December. We found a way of doing that connection much sooner, so in the autumn. But the price of doing that, which I think is a price worth paying, is we'll use Sundays to get testing done, software uploads, and to really get things ready such that we can achieve the benefit and give my customers that benefit several months earlier.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Andy Byford. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Well, across the capital, the line joins existing rail links as it travels out west towards Berkshire and Heathrow Airport. And on the way is Southall, where we can join Thomas McGill this evening. Thomas.
Yes, Alice, I'm at one of those other new stations along the line. Quite right, I'm here in Southall on that branch that will whiz you out to Heathrow and Reading in Berkshire. And all day people have been here with their contactless Oyster cards and contactless machines getting a first glimpse at the stations. And we'll hear in a minute how communities on the edges of the line will benefit from having a station in them. But first of all, let's speak to Dominica, who has been here and actually in other stations as well across the network today. Yeah. Dominica, how has it been and what stations have you been working on?
It's been fantastic. I've worked all across the West Line today. It's been busy, customers. We're going to see the new stations, beautiful design, a lot of questions, a lot of happy faces. Yeah, that atmosphere has been great.
I was on the line earlier and hundreds of people were just taking photos. How busy has it been here at Southall for you?
Oh yeah, not just Southall, but all across the West. A lot of pictures have been taken, a lot of new tube maps and Oyster cards. Yeah, it's been really busy,
Absolutely.
But really great.
Dominica, I'll let you get behind again there. Well, a lot of things for customers to get their heads around, so those maps will come in very, very handy. And Dominique was saying as well that one of the most frequently asked questions today is how they can get their hands on one of these commemorative Oyster cards. It's got the very soon-to-be iconic purple on it, and the moquette, that's the design, specially designed fabric that you will see on the trains when you get a chance to go on them as well. I've been told by bosses that there are still some available at machines along the Elizabeth line, but only until while stocks last. So go and get one if you fancy getting a little bit of history. Back to you, Alice.
Thomas, thank you. Well, across to the east of the city, other areas are feeling the impact of the new line too. Our Work and Money correspondent Mark Ashdown has spent the day in Abbey Wood to find out how the project has changed that part of southeast London.
6 a.m. at Abbey Wood, not the usual commuter queue. On and on it snakes. These lucky few, the first to ride the new line. Nim Badair is expecting to be busy too. He's invested £35,000 in his minicab firm. The 4-year delay has been a struggle. Today then, as much about relief as excitement.
Yeah, I went up there this morning. Yeah, it was quite a moment really, watching the first train leave the platform. 4 years in the wait, but yeah, no, it's here now. So, I think we've got to put everything behind us now and move on. And hopefully, helps with trade, helps with regeneration programs that are going on. I think a lot of people don't know where Abbey Wood is, but they will do now, I'm sure.
Would you like to be on telly?
Yeah, of course.
Everyone wants to be on telly. So what have you come here for today? There's nothing special going on.
We live here, sweetheart, so we've been to Paddington for breakfast.
We went there because I was born there, say 70 years ago, so it was nice to go back.
For the past 5 years we've had to put up with all the railway being rebuilt, tractors virtually on the back of our garden.
Is it worth it, hopefully, in the long run?
I think so. It's putting Abbey Wood on the map.
Doors opening.
All day long they've kept coming for pictures, for a slice of history, and just to get into town quicker than ever. What does this mean then for the area, do you think?
I was just telling them it's once in a lifetime that a new tube line opens, so we've got to make the most of it.
I think it's like 10 minutes to Canary Wharf, so it'll be nice not having to get the train.
Lots of opportunities then, and interest is already growing. This estate agent, who's been here 25 years, thinks the area is on the verge of something big.
Abbey Wood's always been a quiet little corner of London. It's always been very affordable. There hasn't really been loads around here. We've got great parks and we've got great woods, but there's not really been that much else. So,
what, in terms of like sort of investment?
Yeah, but now with Crossrail coming to town, it's ignited 13,000 new homes being built in the area.
That could bring its challenges if commuters start pricing locals out of the area. But for today, central London is finally right on the doorstep. It's been a long journey, but remember the name, Abbey Wood, London's latest tube destination. Mark Ashdown, BBC London.
From the control room at Farringdon, there are severe delays on the Well, the project has not only brought changes to places, but to people too. And I'm joined now by one engineer, Olga, who started her career working on Europe's biggest infrastructure project. What was that like?
I think overwhelming was my first week, absolutely. I started on the project straight out of university, so it was Very interesting, a very steep learning curve. I really did ponder whether I made the right choice, but I am so happy to be here almost 9 years later.
And when you say you pondered whether or not you'd make the right decision, obviously you're digging huge tunnels deep underground. What was that like?
Very, very educational, to say the least. And actually, today was my first day actually getting on the trains and walking through Farringdon station, which is one of the stations I worked on one of the projects. And it makes you realise the scale of the project, the scale, how many people get to use this rail at this moment in time.
So you must feel quite proud.
It's a very proud moment, and it's not just for me, it's for everyone at the office. You know, there's different project areas having celebratory drinks today to really mark the occasion.
And Olga, there will be young women and girls watching you thinking that this is got to be one of the coolest jobs in the world. Would you encourage more women to get into civil engineering like you?
Absolutely. So it makes me think back in college when I was kind of choosing which way to go. Civil engineering didn't even register on one of my career choices, and it offers such a broad spectrum of where you can actually specialise. So it's absolutely a way for girls to go into.
And clearly very rewarding, as we can see.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening, Olga Konopka. Thank you. Well, we'll be back later with some of the fans who have been counting down to this day for a long time. But first, here's Frankie McCamley in the studio with the rest of the day's news.
And now back to the launch of the Elizabeth line and Alice, who's at Farringdon Station. Alice, over to you.
Frankie, welcome back to Farringdon, where the excitement has been palpable throughout the day. After years of delays, many Londoners have been counting down the days until the Elizabeth line started, like this rail enthusiast who was dressed for the occasion.
This is my Crossrail / Elizabeth line themed waistcoat. I've bought some cushions from the Transport Museum and refashioned them into the main outer. I've had a special tube map printed on the inside for the lining, and it's taken quite a long time to build. Unfortunately, midway through, my old sewing machine died and I had to buy a new one, which meant it's slightly over budget, but would it really be a Crossrail themed waistcoat if it wasn't over budget and a little bit last minute?
Well, many Londoners made a special trip on one of the first trains to depart this morning. Lakshmi Gopal joined them on a very special journey.
Counting down to catching the first ever Elizabeth line train.
3, 2, 1. Yay!
Hundreds queued for hours. It's been years of waiting for Crossrail. What's a little longer? Many dressed for the occasion in royal colours.
Well, I got a little bit of purple in my hair. All my friends were all wearing our purple t-shirts. Obviously, I've got my socks on at the ready.
I'm from South Carolina. And
You didn't travel all the way from South Carolina for this, did you?
I did.
No delays here, a punctual departure.
Here we go. Doors are closing.
It's been 30 years in the making, so I had to come down from Manchester, especially just to be on the first train.
I've been waiting for this service since I was 4 years old. It was 2007 when the Crossrail Act was enacted, and I was 4 at the time.
The event turned strangers into friends.
In fact, we just met each other in the
exactly.
Oh, so you don't know each other?
No, we just met.
United by the Elizabeth line.
Exactly. The Elizabeth line unites people.
We just thought it was like a historic moment that we wanted to experience, basically.
And I live in Woolwich, so this is going to massively change my commute, which is really exciting.
Not everyone was caught up in the excitement, though.
I brought my son along with me. I thought it'd be really, really great for him to experience the first train going out from Woolwich on the Elizabeth line. Unfortunately, he's fallen asleep.
Perhaps a better response from canine travellers?
Purple collar, yeah, especially for the Elizabeth line opening, yeah. My dog's always been a bit of a fan of the trains as well, and thought just be a historic moment to bring her on board and with me, and to be the first dog on the Elizabeth line.
28 minutes later, the maiden voyage terminates at Paddington. You travelled thousands of miles to get here to make a 22-mile journey thereabouts. Was it worth it?
Definitely it was worth it. This has been an amazing day. It's one of the craziest days of my life, probably.
Purple train, purple train.
Today was about more than just a new and better commute. It was about marking an historic moment in the city's transport timeline. Lakshmi Gopal, BBC London.
Well, Tom's back with us. Tom, the biggest infrastructure project in Europe is nearly over, so what's next for the capital?
Well, I just don't think that's clear at the moment. There are a lot of things on the horizon, things like funding issues, strikes perhaps, that could affect all kinds of things for the capital. But I think today was undoubtedly a good day for London and for London transport. And I think it was really interesting what the Mayor said to me. He said that New York and Paris are looking on green with envy, and I think you have to look at it through that perspective.
And a momentous day for you too, Tom. All your hard work. Thanks very much. Well, that's it. Time to hand you back to the studio now with Elizabeth Rizzini. Well, that's it from Farringdon Station after a momentous day for the capital's transport system as the Elizabeth line launches. It's taken 3 years to get to this point, and as we've been hearing, we'll still be seeing more work completed as the line is joined in its entirety from west to east. And you can get plenty more on the day's event and follow some commuters' stories on our website and of course on our socials. And you can catch up on our live page content that's been running throughout the day too. Well, I'll be back with the latest news for London at 10:30 tonight. But before we go, we'll leave you with some of those people who've been celebrating today. Bye-bye for now.